Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. 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 Hari Om, welcome. Good to be with you. So this is the second of our 5 videos on Japa Yoga. Our first video was, and the link is right here, what is Japa Yoga and what is a mantra? And so we discussed, and with that background, we're going to talk today about why to use mantra, why to practice Japa Yoga. And honestly, there are countless reasons why. This video could be very long, and we'll keep it pint-sized. But there are at least 75,000 reasons why to chant with mantra, why to practice Japa Yoga. It's said, and the number can vary, it's approximate, but how many thoughts are we visited with every day? And there are studies of the mind, studies of the brain, related studies of the mind. We get this number, something like 75,000 thoughts a day that come to us. Various types. Various types. Inevitably have something to do with me. Like I need, I want, I should have, they should have, I wish, and oh, I love this, and oh, I don't like that, and I like her, and I don't like him, and endless. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna talks about this and says, many branched and endless are the thoughts of the uncentered mind. We'll use a little bit to help introduce this. We'll use Raja Yoga Sutras. The first, and this is linked below for Raja Yoga Sutras, one of the translations, also called Patanjali Yoga, one of the 4 paths of yoga, the path of meditation or uplifting one's mind. We'll say it that way. Sometimes it would be said controlling one's mind, or we could say being free of one's mind, like this. And the Raja Yoga Sutras consists of 4 books. The first book establishes the purpose for yoga and really all of the spiritual paths, all of the spiritual systems, all the wisdom traditions. The first 4 sutras, first one is simply, now yoga is explained or expounded upon. And then this famous one, and you might have heard it in Sanskrit, yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. And I'll read this translation. We'll discuss it for a few moments. The restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff is yoga. I'll say it a different way. Nirodha is the cessation, here being translated as restraint. Either is okay, but when these vrittis have ceased, this is called yoga. And we'll talk about these vrittis for a moment in terms of what they are. Direct translation of the word vritti is whirlpool. And chitta is the mind stuff, meaning practically my mind. The world that I live in, my inner world, my world filled of hopes and desires and likes and dislikes and ideas about who I am and what I need and all of this. This is my inner person, and it's really my inner world. So it's full, very full. If it weren't so full, we might not have 75,000 thoughts a day. But this mind stuff is simply the mind. Here, what is the solar system in? The solar system is in space, correct? All of the planets, how many? 10 planets, some say 11 planets now. Some will talk about many more planets, plus the sun. They all exist within space. In this same way, thoughts. What are thoughts? Where are thoughts existing? Thoughts exist within the space of the mind, and that is the chitta. What's a vritti? A vritti is a whirlpool which arises within the substratum, the space of the mind, within the chitta. What does it do? It twists it. And maybe this helps. Have you ever felt sucked in by a situation in life? Drawn in, yeah, that would be not unusual, correct? That something is interesting and you draw closer to it. But have you ever felt that you lost yourself within the thought world, that something happened and the mental reaction to it was so overwhelming that you got sucked into it?
Sure.
Huh? So this getting sucked in, literally, this is why the term whirlpool is being used. I'm sorry. I used to play with a rubber ducky in the bathtub. This has been at least 3 or 4 years ago. And when and I got a kick out of it. This is a visual. I got a kick out of pulling the plug out of the bathroom drain, and that whirlpool that would arise, and how that ducky would get sucked into it as if it was going to go down the drain. And that's what is meant by this chitta vritti. It is formations arising within the mind that suck us where? Down into the drain. Into various states of suffering, anger, anxiety, stress, fear, denial, all of these. It's happening in the mind. And it's related to thought formations and our relationship with the thought formations. And so, if that's perhaps helpful, we'll move on and briefly introduce the next 2 sutras. And we've just covered pretty well the extent of Swami's Sanskrit, so we'll just do this in English now. Number 3, when the vrittis have ceased, these mind forms, particular mind forms, with my relationship with them, where they suck me down or suck me in, when these have ceased, nirodha, then, this is number 3, the seer, meaning I, or the self, abides in its own nature. And what is its own nature? Well, this is for us to discover, but each one of us have a taste of it. Have you ever been happy?
Sure.
All right? How does that feel to be happy?
It's pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very pleasant, isn't it? Mm. Beyond, in fact, the word pleasant doesn't really describe it, does it?
Right. It's joyful.
It's joyful. Yeah?
Yeah.
What's the mind doing during that moment?
Usually not much.
In that moment,
yeah,
it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's not doing a darn thing. So what does that mean? No vrittis. That's what it means. No getting sucked into anything. That's what it means. no vacuum cleaner running full speed, headed towards us, ready to take us out of our state, which is said to be Ananda, bliss, our natural state. Blissful, bliss. And this is always the case. If you look at your moments of happiness and you ask this question, what was my mind doing? Even to the extent of what seem like normal formations, it seems like you and I are separate. And yet in that moment, if you look, do you feel the sense of separation in that moment?
Less so.
Maybe not at all. Maybe only in reflecting back, you're sure that you're separate. And so that gets injected back into that moment. If you check, do you even have a sense of self? Of course you exist. In fact, if you reflect back on the moment, you might say, or this might just arise up, I remember when baby, I got married, I had that hole-in-one. There are other activities too. I made that catch in the end zone. I was playing in the band and it was perfect, or I was listening to this, or I was reading this poem, or I was just looking at a rose and I was transported. And it was all perfect. When I ate that mushroom, and I was transported, and it was perfect. And then maybe some idea, I lost myself, but I was so much more myself. Yeah? This is what's being pointed to. I had thought that the hole-in-one needed to be replicated. Or a different new car needed to be purchased. The list is pretty endless, actually, of how to get that moment back. And yet what's being shared with us is we are the moment. We are the eternal moment. We are Ananda. This is our real nature. This is what yoga is sharing with us. And that to get it back, I simply need to come back to my center, to who I am, and do whatever I can to support the cessation of these vrittis, the removal of whatever obstacles or knots or formations are causing these I, me, mind thoughts to constantly arise and constantly suck me into them. Because if we allow for it, maybe I really am what I'm seeking in this sense. And so this can be helpful. Just looking, we don't need to find new situations in life as teachers for us. These moments and the capacity to reflect on them are beautiful teachers for us. And then we get to see all the other moments when I hadn't lost myself and I was so much less of myself. And I lost myself. I lost myself in anger. I lost myself in fear. I couldn't think. I couldn't act. I was frozen. I didn't know what to do. This is the other. And this is number 4, which says at other times, meaning when the vrittis are active, when the whirlpools are running, then the self appears to assume the forms of the mental modifications. So let's say that you actually never got angry, but that there was a mental formation of anger. And the source of anger, of course, is in the mind. I know, the mind says it's that person. But if you actually look at it, it's in the mind. The sense of anger is in the mind. I experience it. I'm not it. If I were anger, would I not always be angry? If I were fear, would I not always be afraid? And so here, what we see is these are passing. They're formations. And yeah, we say, when anger comes and anger gets strong, we say, how many of us have said, I'm angry. I'm angry at you. And it feels like I'm angry, correct? What's being shared is I have lost myself to this anger. I've lost myself to this arising sensation. And that is the example for us of Sutra 4. Mm-hmm. At other times, the self appears, I appear to assume the form of the mental modifications. As far as I'm concerned, I am now angry. I am afraid. And we lose the access to even to the conscious mind, to the conscious mental faculties as these become extreme. But even a little bit. You know how we accept that stress is just a fact of life? Oh, so sad. How we accept that fear is just a fact of life, that it'll always be here, that I'll always be afraid a little bit or a lot. And yet, when you look at your peak experiences, which you are striving to get back to, which you want everyone to get into alignment, like get in line so that I can be happy. Here, the circumstances of my life, get in line so that I can be happy. We say, okay, what we want to get in line is our mind. Like this. And if we go back to what the mantra is and what the mantra is doing, if we allow for it, and we can only know for sure through the practice of it, and the practice needs to be sustained. We'll have another session, of course, here on practicing the mantra, the practice of Japa Yoga. We can learn by practicing, but the theory put forward by those who have found what we're seeking, who were able to mine this life, dive into it, find the center of it, and each of us have found the center because we each have this moment of happiness and multiple ones to work with. It helps us to realize. And they've mined it, and they've focused the mind and calmed the mind and found, and so the sutras are coming from experience. It's not some idle idea about. What mantra is doing is helping us to get our mind in alignment. And simply by repeating the mantra over and over again, over a period, then the normal, quote unquote, normal mental masalas, the normal thought patterns change. And by the way, it even works in emergencies. That is, we can have a situation which is pending, where we feel we might be prone to lose ourselves, and we can chant these mantras, and they will help us so that we do not. And I'll open it up. We can talk here for just a moment and maybe share an example or two, and that might help us in terms of gaining some confidence. And you have examples as well. Hari Mukti, anything that you would like to share?
I mean, for me, mantra's been a great practice. My tendency is to get defensive sometimes, and sometimes to get obsessed with certain thoughts, and I keep thinking those thoughts over and over again. Oh. And until I learned about mantra practice and got into mantra practice, I didn't have an alternative thing to feed my brain. And now that I've got that tool in my toolkit, it's really helped me to short circuit this kind of obsessive thinking, because I'll see myself loop on something a couple times and be like, I don't want to be thinking like that. That's causing me to suffer. So then I just throw my mantra at it, and that short circuits it, and I can be more in the present moment. And it's really done a lot to make me a happier person, honestly.
Yeah. To allow you to be a happier person. Perhaps.
Yeah, it's for me to realize my happiness.
Hari, something you would add?
I can tell a story of the time I used it in an emergency situation.
Yes, please.
Mantra. And it was kind of at the beginning when I just finished the teacher training. I started to teach yoga. And I was teaching, and in the middle of the class, everyone was in the fish pose. And the student comes out of the pose, and he grabs me by the arm. And I see there was a very distressed look in the face. And he was panicking, and he started running around the class. And it was like, this cannot happen right now. It cannot be happening. And I didn't understand exactly what was going on. So in my mind, the only thing I knew what to do at that moment was to chant mantra. So I started to chant mantra Om really loud. And just shortly after that, someone said, you need to call an ambulance because he was having an epileptic attack from epilepsy. And so I was going to get the phone. And then shortly after that, the student said, okay, no, I think he's passing. He's going down and it's going away. So that kind of proved for me like the efficacy or how powerful the mantra can be in an emergency situation. And that was not the only time, but that was the first time that I used mantra, and basically I saw results almost instantly, and it was almost like a magical thing that happened.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Almost like a miracle, I would say.
It is. So, and we all have many stories with mantras. I'll share one last, and that's from our weekend retreat here in Vermont. We had our morning session on Sunday morning focused on Japa yoga and mantra. We chanted some mantras together. We took a little bit of a deeper dive. In fact, what we're doing in this series. And then the group, some of whom had no familiarity with mantra at all prior to this. And we stepped into a service, spiritual service, Sunday morning at All Souls here in the name of the town?
Shelburne, Vermont.
Shelburne, Vermont. Thank you very much. And so we were in the service and completed the service, and then we reconvened our retreat right after the service. And one of the dear souls spoke up. We were talking briefly again about mantra, and she said that she was curious what repeating the mantra would do in talking with someone, in meeting a person or talking with a person. And she described this. She said there's a particular person in the community that she has a really tough time with, meaning that her mind thinks of all of these negative thoughts about this person, and anger and disgust arise with her. And this has been her experience in seeing this person, and she doesn't like it. And so she saw this person start to come, and she started the mental repetition of mantra. And when she shared this, she had the biggest smile. She said, I was able to love this person. No counter thoughts arose. And so this is why we practice Japa yoga. This is why we work with mantras. On the extended practice, and we'll continue, then the effects are simply transformational. So let's chant. How about Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya? We'll chant it a little bit as we conclude this session. Thank you very much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.